But yeah, I remember, especially for 2016, like being very obsessive about what I was eating. Because, like, you know, just like the Olympics, everybody's focused on like, we want to have perfect routines and we want to have perfect hair and we want to have perfect leotards and I want to look perfect.
Right.
Like, that was the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I was really obsessed about like making sure all the food was good, probably to an unhealthy point. Whereas now it's just like clean foods.
Yeah.
Which is
That's the
cool.
way to go.
It's so, like, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You learn to adapt, I guess.
Yeah, and that's definitely a tough struggle. I didn't even think about like that's a kind of like a behind the scenes thing. You know what I mean? Like someone that watches gymnastics. I mean, me personally, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy. Like I just think about like, okay, it's just they're judging their athletic ability, and then you're thinking like they're judging me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a whole other aspect that we don't see.
Yeah,
you know?
like when I walk into a meet, even now, I don't think much has maybe a little bit's changed. I feel a little more confident now, I think, than I was when I was 16. But walking in, like the nerves wasn't, okay, like I just want to make sure that I'm impressing the judges or like I want to hit a good routine. It was like, I don't want anybody to look at me weird.
Yeah.
Like that was the whole like nerves. Cause like, especially when you get to a high level, yeah, all these people watching. And I was like, I just don't want them to look at me different. Like I don't want to embarrass myself. Screw the routines. Like I just want to be set.
Yeah.
And like you think everybody's focusing on it and the wrong people do. But for the most part, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody cares at all.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you get like I'm assuming every gymnast has been there before, but if you get a score that, you know, you wish you had a higher score, you start to probably think about like, okay, what were they really judging? You know what I mean? Was it me? Like, could I look better to make this trick? Sorry, not trick.
I got this.
to make my routine look better. Just because and then like the judgment, I feel like well like you're a part of a sport that they literally judge you. It's judges, you know what I mean? So it's like that could really mess with your head.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of athletes who'll agree. Like some coaches and some people will tell you like, oh, if you look better, the judges will score you better, which is not true at all. And the judges that I know, and we end up having conversation with these judges that I was so intimidated by when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And now we all like talk to them because they're helping us out a little bit. And they're like, no, we don't judge by looks at all. That's not the point.
Yeah.
We're just judging on what we're seeing. Like if you win, you won.
Yeah.
Like.
Wow.
I feel like they take it very seriously too. I feel like there's a respect level for judges of like, I know the position I'm in. I'm not going to subsidize that by like giving a score on something because of looks. I feel like that would just be wasting their time.
That definitely just
100%.
helped me gain a new perspective on like gymnastics itself,
Same.
and any sport with a judge rather, because just like even like I got to a point where my self-esteem was kind of like diminishing because I was receiving like hate comments or something about the content, and I was like, okay, maybe if I look better, that's something that they can't comment about.
Right.
Yeah. Well, like there's this theory about and it's what sucks about being a perfectionist, but as long as you know what's happening, but like being a perfectionist, we assume that if we can just hit the level of perfection that we can avoid criticism altogether, and it never works. It never works. Somebody's always going to have a problem with it.
Yeah.
So if you're achieving perfection because you want to set it to a certain point that you're happy with, that's one thing. If you're doing it to avoid criticism, it's never going to work and you're never going to be happy. And that took the longest lesson to learn.
Yeah.
Because like gymnastics is all about being perfect. And I
Yeah.
was like, if I do it 10, 20, 30 times, maybe I'll get the perfect one. And it's never perfect for somebody. So it's all for you.
Right. Are there any points where you got a score where you knew it should have been better, and when it happens, do you think, okay, I don't need to improve this? I think I did well. I just didn't get scored that way. Or what happens when you do get a bad score going through your brain?
When you get a bad score, depending on like what meet it is, like your coach is allowed to go to the judges and you can put in, I don't remember what it's called, but you can question it.
Okay.
You can like ask why or be like
dispute what
challenge.
happened.
Challenge basically. Okay. And then there's a point where like if you keep like an inquiry, you can submit an inquiry. But if it goes wrong, they can like scratch you.
Oh no.
So it's like you're really like
it's a risk.
Playing with fire here. Yeah. But I mean at some point, the right athletes stop caring about scores and start caring about like how much better was that routine than the last time I did it.
Exactly.
Because then you realize that scores don't, some days you're going to get a really high score on a really shitty routine, and then some days you're going to get a really bad score on the best routine you've ever done, and it is what it is. But as long as you know that it was good, like that's
great advice too.
Yeah.
That's the most important part.
Yeah, it's great. Just being okay with yourself and confident with yourself is something that I feel like you always, a lot of people our age have learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And that's something that I definitely had to do too, but it's just crazy that you're in a completely different field than me, and we've kind of like learned like a synonymous lesson. Just I think that's the most important thing. Just being comfortable with who you are.
Yeah.
Because then the criticism doesn't matter.